So, you have an LT1 6th gen or maybe even an LT swapped classic car, and you're wanting to see, on a budget, is there another bolt-on that you can put on to pick up a little bit more power? We appreciate you joining us this week. My name is Nick with Scoggin-Dickey, and this is another one of our weekly tech videos. Today's video is covering the LT2 intake manifold. That's right. This is the intake manifold that comes on the production C8 rear engine Corvettes. And people have already found out ways to adapt this to a 6th gen Camaro or other LT engines. There's a few tricks to it and a little bit of performance gains, and we think some big performance gains for some of you guys that might be a stroker, maybe even a heads cam car. So let's dive right in. Let's look into what makes this different from an LT1 intake, and then what it takes to put this on your engine and what vehicles it'll fit. Now, if you've already seen an LT1 intake, I'm sure you're looking at this thing, and the very first thing you notice is this thing's a monster. It is much taller than the factory LT1 car intake that you'd find on a C7 Corvette or a 6th gen Camaro. But there's good reason for that. A whole lot of extra plenum volume, and that is where a big part of this performance comes from. Also as well, we have measured here that the runners themselves are 1.6 inches longer, which would favor kind of more of a low end, but the way they're shaped and mixed with this larger plenum volume, these things are picking up some pretty good power already in dyno results. We actually plan to be testing one of these ourselves, either on the engine dyno or on our chassis dyno, but we can't keep one of these in stock long enough to use it. And all the 6th gen Camaro guys in town that we know, they already have much bigger mods done to their cars, so we can't even find a good mule to do back-to-back testing. So for now, we're just going to cover fitment and differences. The other difference is the snout itself. Now, a stock LT1 throttle body will bolt to the snout of this intake. It is bigger though. The stock LT1 throttle bodies are around 87, 88 millimeters. This measures out at almost 95 millimeters. We actually had a set of mics here just a second ago. We measured 94.6 millimeters, so it's pretty big. We've also known some people to port these out. There's not a lot of room where this O-ring gasket goes right here, but some people with enough skills have ported these out to run one of our Nick Williams 103s on it, which we imagine if you need the airflow, that is big gains for a great price. Now, let's talk about some fitment issues. As you can see, this is taller, so if you have a C7 Corvette, sorry, this will not fit your car. You'll hit the hood, you'll hit the cowl. I've yet to see anybody really do it successfully, so as of right now, this is mostly for 6th gen guys or guys that have bought an LT1 crate engine from us and swapped it into a Chevelle. There's a lot of room under the hood when you do this in a classic car, so these will fit pretty well. There are a couple things you need to note. There's an Evap line up here, and of course, there is another line on the side over here. They are in slightly different locations on a stock application. It seems to be the common consensus is the LT2 lines that come on the Corvettes that came with this intake aren't a direct solution to that. People are taking their lines and they're modifying them, just like we did in the Trailblazer SS intake video. If you remember that, there were some lines that you were going to have to modify on your own, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Pretty cheap, pretty simple. It's going to be the same thing here. A little bit of cutting, a little bit of splicing, putting in the proper hose and the proper clamps. You'll be on the road with zero issues. So that's actually a pretty good thing. There's a couple other things I'd like to point out here. This intake, for some reason, has a very small little dowel locator here next to one of the bolts. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hard to see. Now, while the LT2 and the LT1 do use the same cylinder head casting, for some reason, we've heard of a lot of customers having to remove that to make it fit. We thought we'd let you know that that's not that big a deal. A little Dremel, a saw, cut it off nice and flush, not a problem at all. So another thing to look out for, but don't be worried when you run into it. Another one to look out for, because of the way the LT2 engine is designed, the high pressure fuel pump is in a different place in relation to this intake manifold. The LT2 pump, it's under the snout right here where the throttle body is. And that's where you can see this little divot right here? That's for the high pressure fuel pump sitting underneath. Well, you put this on an LT1 and it's back here. Now you can see some of those ribs right there. Those do have to be ground down for anybody that is running an LT1 pump, and LT4 pumps are a little bit taller. So again, a little bit of patience, your favorite Dremel or grinder. You can knock these down safely. It has no structural effect. It will work, but it is something you need to know for clearance issues. Now let's talk about the performance gains. Again, I'm having to go off of numbers based on other people's experiences. One of the great things about the hot rodding community is that we all have the same goal in mind. We're all wanting results. So I have seen results on a stock 6-gen Camaro at the rear wheels, anywhere from 5 to 7 horsepower and another about 4 to 5 pound-feet of torque. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, but the thing is that more and more people have tested this on modified engines. You do it on an engine that has already a cold air intake, a good tune, exhaust, and high flow headers. You end up getting near 10, 11 at the wheel and 6 to 7 torque at the wheel. Now that's starting to be worth it. And on some cammed cars, we have seen some guys pick up 20 wheel horsepower with these. We really want to test one of these ourselves with one of our own custom grinds, and we can't wait to post that video. Another thing I wanted to point out, like I said earlier, the snout for the throttle body. You can use your stock LT1 throttle body. It'll work. Those results I was talking about, so far we're all with stock throttle bodies, but we've had our own customers. They have grabbed an LT5 throttle body. Yes, C7 ZR1, the 2019 model. This is a 95 millimeter throttle body. They've either ported the snout, or ICT Billet, we sell it on our website, makes an adapter to put this throttle body on this intake manifold. The bolt pattern is slightly off, so it's not a direct bolt on, but they've also noticed some gains with that. The plug for the throttle body is the same. They use the same digital inputs and outputs on these, so a slight retune, this works great. As of right now, because these are in production, as well as these throttle bodies, both of these items are very inexpensive, especially when you consider the gains you get. So again, C7 Corvettes can't help you here, but a 6-gen LT1 Camaro, this might be a really great budget option for some of you street guys. And again, as long as you don't mind the nice dome look, some of you classic car guys that have an LT swapped engine, this could be a big benefit as well. We appreciate you stopping by for another one of our weekly tech videos. As always, we're trying to put these out to share as much information with the rest of you hot rodders as often as we can. If you have any ideas, please let us know in the comments below. We do read them. We do get ideas from some of our readers and viewers. If you would, give us a like and a subscribe and a share on both Facebook and YouTube, as well as our other social media accounts, so we can share this information and help as many as we can. Again, thank you for stopping by. We'll see you next week.